In order for you to understand what's going on the border, you have to understand that at the very beginning of Joe Biden's term in 2021, January 2021, months prior, there had to have been meetings at the highest level with the most powerful people in America, and they made a determination that they were going to destroy America through illegal immigration, the vehicle of illegal immigration. How do I know that this happened? Well, because on this first day of office, Joe Biden signed 94 executive orders completely dismantling President Trump's border policies and laws. There, at the end of Joe Biden's term, over 12 million people, 11.5 to 12 million people will have been arrested. 12 million. 95 to 97% of them will all be released. All of them. So essentially 12 million people across the border. It is not even argued, even in the corrupt House of our Senate, the Congress has openly admitted there are 45 million illegal aliens in America right now. You name me one nation in the history of civilization that has withstood this level of demographic shift of allowing illegal aliens into their population and survived, and you cannot. It didn't happen. The Romans did, the Greeks, the Ottomans, no one did. And we will not either. We will not survive this if we do not correct it. That is what's happening on the border. It is strategic, it is purposeful, and it is treason. And I stand by that. One man named Donald Trump came into the Border Patrol, and he took over. He built a wall. He made Mexico and the Northern Triangle nations south of them bend a knee, and they participated in the securing our border. Our border was the most secure it has ever been. Let me give you an example. In my position, I would get a 24-hour report. In a 24 hours, day after day after day at the end of Trump's term in office, we were averaging arresting 500 to 600 people a day. You go from that, where we had nobody was crossing, and every single one of those people were deported, then the first day in Joe Biden's term, first day, we go to 5,000 to 6,000 a day. If we do not turn this around, meaning, look, I'm going to be straight up. I'm a MAGA guy. I love Donald Trump. I want him to be the president. Why? Because for the first time in my career in the United States Border Patrol, we were winning. We had a secure border. We were within 9 months of having completely secure border. Every nation on the planet Earth respected us and did what we wanted. President Trump, we had it. It's gone from that to complete chaos. Now, if this does not happen, if somehow Biden gets across the finish line, or Kamala Harris, whoever they're going to put in, I'm going to tell you, historians will mark this down and say, this is the day America died.
All right. Thank you, and welcome to another episode of the X-Ray Podcast. My name is Julio Torres, and today I'm having a 24-year Border Patrol agent and author of the book Invaded. And today we're having JJ Carrell. JJ, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I never thought you're gonna answer my email first off. I, I've been sending emails since I started this podcast. People tell me like, man, you send emails to anyone. Like, man, I don't care. If they responded, hey, it's fine with me. But you did, and you separate a block of your time to do this podcast, and I really appreciate it. And just give me a quick 30-second of who you are.
Okay. Thanks. First off, thanks for having me on. I love coming to talk to anybody about this subject. I am a United States Border Patrol agent, retired for 24 years. My last year in the United States Border Patrol, I was a deputy patrol agent in charge. And my last year was Joe Biden's first year in office. So I have an expert opinion, an idea, understanding of everything that's happening now with the illegal alien invasion. And I call it invasion. I won't walk that back. The reason why my perspective is so expert is I did this job. I was in the boots on the ground on the border, Tijuana border, for a decade, moved up the coast, ran task force, large task force operations, and then I became a senior leader within Border Patrol. I can tell you exactly what's happening, who's doing it, and how they're doing it. So I'm excited to answer any question you have for me today.
All right, appreciate it. The first question I have for you is, for those of people that don't know, what's going on at the border?
Okay. So in order for you to understand what's going on the border, you have to understand that at the very beginning of Joe Biden's term in 2021, January 2021, months prior, there had to have been meetings at the highest level with the most powerful people in America. And they made a determination that they were going to destroy America through illegal immigration, the vehicle of illegal immigration. How do I know that this happened? Well, because on this first day of office, Joe Biden signed 94 executive orders completely dismantling President Trump's border policies and laws. How did he do that? Why did he do that? It was the most secure border in the history of the United States of America. Not my feelings. This is what I lived. I saw it. The most secure border in the history of America. And in one day, one man destroyed every single policy that did that. Why would you do that? Because you purposely, intentionally, and strategically want to fundamentally transform America. Not my words, their words. That is what's happening on the border. Right now, let me give you some example of data, just straight data. I don't believe this data to be true, but I'm going to use it because it's DHS data. This is what they're claiming is happening. There, at the end of Joe Biden's term, over 12 million people, 11.5 to 12 million people will have been arrested. 12 million. 95 to 97% of them will all be released. All of them. So essentially 12 million people across the border. Now, at any given time, 80% of the border is unmanned, meaning not one Border Patrol agent is there. This has never happened in the history of the United States Border Patrol. Another 15 to 18 million people conservatively will cross the border in 4 years and not be detected abscond. At the end of Joe Biden's term, he will have allowed in 27 to 30 million illegal aliens. That is devastating to America. Right now, this is not even argued, and I can break the numbers down for you to prove it. It is not even argued. Even in the corrupt House of our Senate, the Congress has openly admitted there are 45 million illegal aliens in America right now. You name me one nation in the history of civilization that has withstood this level of demographic shift of allowing illegal aliens into their population and survived, and you cannot. It didn't happen. The Romans did, the Greeks, the Ottomans, no one did. And we will not either. We will not survive this if we do not correct it. That is what's happening on the border. It is strategic, it is purposeful, and it is treason. And I stand by that.
Now, when you mentioned the 45 million, I believe it is conservative numbers. It probably double. Do you think so?
I think the number, if you pressed me right now, I would feel comfortable saying somewhere in the 50 million range. So you have Center for Immigration Studies, CIS.org, did a demographic study, and they found 51.6 million people live in America are foreign nationals, meaning they have not lived there. If you broke that down, I think that's a little low. 45 million is still low to me. You got to understand, at least 5 to 10,000 people are being arrested every single day and released into America. So this number is just exponentially skyrocketing. So you're looking at a number of about 50 million illegal aliens. So just so your audience puts this in context, that is 1 in 6 residents in the United States of America is illegal alien. This is unprecedented. And I want to also make sure your audience, because every time I come on a podcast, I want to say this, because the left, which I can't stand, and the rhinos, which I hate as well, they conflate this issue of legal and illegal. Legal immigrants are incredible patriots in America. In fact, some of the greatest patriots in our nation are naturalized citizens. Why? Because they came from the third world cesspool where they have no law and order, no opportunity, and they come here in America and they're like, dear God, thank you. I can be anything I want. My children can be anything I want. We legally immigrate 1.2 million people a year. That's an astounding number. I'm not talking about them. We can have a very honest and robust discussion on, do we need more, less, the same, whatever. I am talking to you today solely on the invasion of illegal immigrants into our nation. We cannot withstand it. And to be quite frank, the people that are hurt the most by illegal immigration are legal immigrants, because they have destroyed the wage, the hourly wage, and those legal immigrants that came here and had to start from nothing can never get the American dream because they're always being undercut by illegal aliens. Always. This is historic fact.
It is absolutely. You're absolutely right. I've seen videos floating on the internet about Cubans and Mexicans talking about what you mentioned right now.
Hmm.
They've been undercut. The people that wait line in line properly, illegally, came to this country. Now they feel betrayed because somebody else came in through the back gate. They gave her a phone, money, stipend, whatever, and basically draining our resources. And that's my follow-up question. I'm gonna try to bring this circle back to the whole issue, but let's talk about how mass immigration impacted our resources. Let's touch on that, and then we're gonna move on to the next subject.
Okay. Well, let's look at the total number of costs, just so you have an understanding, your audience. Joe Biden, this is Joe Biden's numbers, okay, his administration. At the end of his term, they are estimating the cost of illegal immigration into America will be $700 billion. Everyone that is in the know, the guys like me that do this for a living, know that we have already eclipsed $1 trillion for illegal aliens. I'm not talking about the murders and rapes and all that cost. I'm talking just straight dollar cost. Dollars. You're looking at tens of billions of dollars a month just to bring them in, to house them, clothe them, feed them. Let me give you one example. One hotel. Do you understand that in New York City, 50% of the hotels are contracted for illegal aliens? 50%. I'm going to talk about one hotel. One. It's called the Row Hotel. It holds 5,000 people. It costs $100 a day to feed one person. They have people that are living in the Row Hotel for almost 2 years now. That means for one person to feed one person a year is $36,000. 36,000. There's 5,000 people in there. You do the math. This is destroying. Look, we'll take New York City, we'll take Chicago, Philadelphia. I'll go through all LA, Oakland, San Francisco. I'll go through all the big cities in America, and they are all in the red. They cannot pay their bills. New York City in 1 year will have cost in the red $4 billion. That's with a B, 4 billion, and they attributed it to all of the cost of illegal immigrants. All of it.
Hmm.
Chicago just spent $3 billion. $3 billion. I was in Chicago. That city is in decay. The minority groups, like the Black Americans live in the South Side, it's a war zone. And they have spent all the money on illegal immigrants. Look, you and I can have a discussion about welfare, social services. Do we need more of it? Is it homelessness? Like, are we doing the right thing? But what you and I can never, ever have a disagreement on is that anyone would take money from U.S. citizens that are down on their luck and give them to foreign nationals that have illegally broke our laws, then you and I have a major problem because you don't care about your brothers and sisters. I do. You want to give it to foreigners. It's like me having a hole in my roof and my wife and my son, we're living in squalor. We can't feed them. We're dirty. We're tired. It's raining. My family's soaking wet and miserable. And what do? Do I help my family? No. I go and give all my money to my neighbor. Who does that? The same thing that we're talking here. Our federal government, and I'm going to say this very openly, our federal government hates America. Absolutely. The people that run our federal government, is not my words, it's theirs. They believe that we are a racist, horrible nation that has gotten all of its success and all of its wealth from ill-gotten gains, slavery, oppression, what other stupid thing you want to say. They believe that. America is great because we are a land of opportunity and freedom. But we only have opportunity and freedom on the backs of law and order. That's it. We have no law and order anymore. We are running roughshod over us. Illegal aliens are destroying our country. Listen, man, I can go off on a tangent for another 2 hours straight talking about one illegal alien rape and murder of our citizens for at least 2 hours straight without taking a breath, because that's how many times and crimes our people are being raped and murdered here in America, and we're doing nothing to stop it. Nothing.
That is absolutely right. It happens not even 2 weeks ago here in Houston, where the two immigrants from Venezuela raped a little 12-year-old girl and
Well,
killed
yeah.
her.
Well, let's talk about that. I think it's important to talk about this for a second, okay?
It, it
That little
is.
girl that's 12 years old with the beautiful curly hair and braces, right? She's just starting her life. Well, what they don't tell you, I knew this right when it came out, that they absolutely raped her. right? And they didn't say it. Now they had to come out and say they raped her for 2 hours, dude. For 2 hours, they raped her. And then they strangled her to death and threw her little lifeless body in a ditch. Listen, why it's important to understand Venezuelan, we have to talk in these terms. Do you know right now, that Venezuela has a 22-year low in their murder rate? Well, why is that? Because they emptied all their prisons and sent all of their murderers to America. I can rattle off at least a half a dozen to a dozen murders and rapes right now at the hands of Venezuelans in the last week. This is happening to America. You better wake up. And if you think that you're immune to it, you think that little beautiful girl's family thought that day that she was going to get raped for 2 hours and strangled and die? You really think that? That's what my point is. You think that you're safe? You're not safe. There's 45 million of them in our country. You got to understand. Let me make sure everyone's very clear about why I'm so passionate and angry about this. Under Joe Biden, he has allowed in 30 million people. 60 to 70% of them are single adult military age men from the continent of Africa, Middle East, Venezuela, and Haiti, nations that despise America. Why do you think that we're seeing the amazing uptick of violent crimes of rape, child rape, child pedophilia, murder? Why? Do you think that's just because? Can you not connect the dots? You can't bring in tens of millions of men from nations that hate us, that hate women, and think that it's all going to be okay. You have to be a fool to believe that.
I'm a film believer of the Second Amendment, and seeing this happening about the border migration and open border, and at the same time restricting our God given rights to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
Do you think this event going on right now at the border, it is the beginning of the end of America?
If we do not turn this around, meaning, look, I'm going to be straight up. I'm a MAGA guy. I love Donald Trump. I want him to be the president. Why? Because for the first time in my career in the United States Border Patrol, we were winning. We had a secure border. We were within 9 months of having completely secure border. Every nation on the planet Earth respected us and did what we wanted. President Trump, we had it. It's gone to from that to complete chaos. Now, if this does not happen, if somehow Biden gets across the finish line or Kamala Harris, whoever they're going to put in, I'm going to tell you, historians will mark this down and say, this is the day America died. It did, because we'll never recover. Let's just do the simple math, okay? 45 million illegal aliens. 45. He will bring in another 30 to 40 million in 4 years. Now we're at 85, 90,000, 90 million. They're going to reproduce at a 2 to 6 times the rate of American citizens. 2 to 6 times the rate. You are looking at a simple math problem and America's over. This isn't what I believe, and I'm a white guy. I can hear everybody with all their racist ideology. This is not about race. This is about a demographic shift from citizens to non-citizens. You can't take a citizenry of 330 million and then within less than a decade have non-citizens of about 150 to 250 million. How do you think that's going to work? How do you think America, as we see it today, if we add 200 to 250 million illegal aliens, foreign nationals in our country, and you are going to somehow argue with me that we're going to be the same? Hell, let's just say I'm completely wrong. Let's say it's 45 million and Joe Biden brings in another 30 million and nobody has babies. None. They don't reproduce at all. You're still going to sit here and tell me 75 million illegal aliens in our country is going to make America great? Are you really going to have that argument with me? See, and that's how we have to talk to these people. When people disagree with us about this, no more of this, I don't want to offend anybody. You have to offend them. You have to go straight at them and you have to tell them exactly what's happening and the truth is. And if you don't like the truth, it makes you uncomfortable. Well, I really don't care anymore because my country's at stake. I'm watching it deteriorate in front of me.
It is absolutely incredible that if you like playing the numbers game and allowing more immigrants coming in, let's say in the next 4 years, that would be close to a 1/3 of the United States population, 1/3. And if your you're saying they will probably reproduce 2 times to 6 times faster than Americans. How we talking about 2040? It will be a whole different landscape.
Totally. And then you throw in the fact that America's aging, and then everyone that's coming in here is somewhere between 18 and 35, okay, illegal aliens. And then you throw in the other variable that Americans are not even in the reproducing rate. I mean, we don't even replace ourselves. That's how low our birth rates are. This
People
isn't
love
this isn't about race. Like, I always have this argument. They go, well, this, you just don't want brown and black. And I go, wait a minute. That has nothing to do with race. If the white birth rate was going down for whatever reason, and blacks were having more babies or Hispanics, who cares? They're Americans. I don't care. The honest truth is, in America, people really don't give a crap about race. That's what the Democrats and the media try to say. We don't care. You were in the Army. I was in the Border Patrol. I was a minority in the United States Border Patrol. Over 60% of the Border Patrol is Hispanic. Who cares? I don't care. But when you artificially destroy my demographics in my country because you imported tens of millions of people, well, I have a problem with that. Who voted for this? What country on planet Earth would bring in their replacements? Why? Why would you do that? The only answer is that you hate America. You want to change her. That's it. We have to come to realization that the enemy of our people is our own government.
That is sadly to say, because I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about the conspiracy theory that is going around about the replacement of Americans, and
Mhm.
every day, every year, every month that I've been seeing it since 2020 and to now, I see it more and more clear that it's a truth. It's not a theory anymore. It's actually a a reality that we have to confront. If we keep doing the same thing we're doing and people voting the same way they voting, 4 more years of the left, in my opinion, it will destroy America from within in the next 15 to 20 years. In my opinion. What is yours?
I agree 100%. You have every illegal alien that's coming across the border. The NGOs are registering them to vote. Okay. You just added 30 million voters. Let's say that 75% of them are adults, the rest are young kids. You still brought in about 20, 25 million
Mm.
voters. You've now displaced me. You've destroyed my vote. And then once you start counting them in the census, because they're going to count illegal aliens, the Democrats are fighting to count illegal aliens in our census. That is going to bring in another 50 to 60 congressional seats are going to land on the Democrat side. Then it's over. Then we're a socialist country. We're almost there now, guys. I mean, you're after you pay all your taxes, state, local, property tax, sales tax, on and on and on, you're looking at about 70% of your income. 60 to 70% of your income, people, is just disappearing. Our founding fathers went to war with the greatest military on planet Earth at the time, and they were getting a tax on tea, and they went to war. We are now, and I believe this, Julio, I believe this solely, strongly, and I have data to prove it. You are bringing over, and you've been in Afghanistan, you've been in Iraq. We're bringing over people from those countries that are war torn. They are hardened criminals, hardened people. They're coming to a nation where we are fat, lazy, and soft. The men are impotent. The men don't know how to fight. A lot of our men think they can be women and have babies. Now, you tell me, when you come from a nation that doesn't even have running water and electricity, and they're surviving and they're fighting each other and they're war torn, when they come over here and they see us with our man buns and our skinny little arms and dressing up like women, do you think they're going to sit there and be second class citizens? Or are they going to look at us and go, what in God's name are we sitting back here and allowing these degenerates to tell us what to do? I'm going to take it all from them. And they will take it all from us. It's already starting. Crime has skyrocketed because they've seen that we're weak. Our men are weak and we're impotent, and they know it. And I blame Julio. I blame everything. Everything that's wrong in America, I lay right at the feet of the American man. because we allowed it to happen. We're allowing foreigners to come into our nation and rape our women and kill our children. Think of that. Think of that just on a very animalistic level. What animal would allow another animal to come into their tribe and rape their women and kill their children? Which one would do that? Not one. So why would we as Americans allow our women and children to be raped and murdered, and our brothers and our fathers to be killed and murdered too? We're a weak nation. And I find no joy in saying that, but I'm just going to say it as it is. We're weak. You just can't come from a pride month where men are driving around on bicycles and marching naked and gyrating and touching children, and everybody thinks it's okay. We are in a moral decline as a nation. We have allowed our leaders to bring us down this rotten core, moral core, and destroy our nation and bring in all of our replacements while we're all watching TV and movies and sports, and we're shocked. We're shocked that a little girl just got raped for 2 hours and strangled. I'm not shocked. I know it's happening. My eyes are wide open.
Now, we are talking about this illegal immigration, and I read your book. You were also stationed in California, if I believe.
Yes, I spent my career in San Diego sector, but I worked all the
San Diego.
way east to Arizona.
You were all the way. Can you tell me, on in your first hand account or your experience, what do you see increasing from the years where you started to the year you retired? Have you seen an increment, or this is right now out of the norm in 2020 and forward?
Okay, let me give you first off, this is a uniparty issue, meaning that both parties are complicit in this. President Bush did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. Bill Clinton did the same thing. It was all, we'll throw some money at it, we'll build a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but we'll still allow them to come in. No interior enforcement, no anything. 19 years of my career, 19, I was on a losing team. Not because I had losers on my team. We were all incredible professional men and women, but our government destroyed everything that we should do. They undercut us, except for one man. One man named Donald Trump came into the Border Patrol, and he took over. He built a wall. He made Mexico and the Northern Triangle nations south of them to bend a knee, and they participated in the securing our border. Our border was the most secure it has ever been. Let me give you an example. In my position, I would get a 24-hour report. In a 24 hours, day after day after day at the end of Trump's term in office, we were averaging arresting 500 to 600 people a day. That's nothing. 500. You have over 5,000 miles on the northern border, 2,000 more on the southern border, and then probably another 10,000 combined on the coastline. 500 to 600. ICE was arresting thousands, and deporting them. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You go from that, where we had nobody was crossing, and every single one of those people were deported. Then the first day in Joe Biden's term, first day, we go to 5,000 to 6,000 a day arrested and released. And let me tell you, from that day one to right now, which is 3 years and 7 months, we have averaged anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000 arrests a day. Non-stop. And you tell me that this is not intentional and this didn't happen purposely. Let me just give you, Julio, if you just give me 1 minute, just kind of,
Yeah, go ahead.
you and I are talking about a lot of numbers, right? Million here, 10 million there. Okay, $1 billion. Let me just try to put this in a context. Okay. Everybody knows about the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. The beautiful Rose Bowl holds 100,000 people. Right now, we're averaging anywhere from 5 to 20,000. Let's just say it's 10,000. It's easy math. I could do the division and multiplication. From the first day in Joe Biden's term, first day, this is what happened. I went down to the Rose Bowl and I opened the southern gates. And for 10 days, I filled the Rose Bowl to capacity. 100,000 people, capacity. And then at the 10th day at midnight, I walked down to the northern side of the stadium. I opened it up, and then I released all 100,000 into America. And at the same time, I ushered in another 10,000. And at the next 10-day mark, I released them all. And I did that over and over and over again for 4 years. And that is just what we caught. If we're being honest, there's another stadium like that in Kansas City called Arrowhead. At the same time in Arrowhead, I'm doing the same thing. So I'm filling up the Rose Bowl and I'm filling up Arrowhead Stadium, the championship stadium, the Chiefs, and I'm releasing all of them every 10 days into America.
Hmm.
How do you think America is going to sustain itself? How? This is a number. This isn't, look, you don't have to like my black t shirt, American flag behind me, the way I do my hair, or that I'm white. You don't have to like any of that. But what you can't argue with me about is factual data. This is true, honest data. And you're going to tell me, you're going to have an argument or discussion with me, and you're going to say, I don't believe your conclusion. Well, if you don't believe my conclusion, then why don't you give me an explanation of what the hell's going on? And this is what happens, Julio. Every time I ask that question, the left and the rhinos, they can't answer it because there is no other answer. The answer is our government has done this purposely, intentionally, and America is being destroyed. As simple as that. It's hard to digest. It's hard
Mhm.
to agree with me, but it's happening.
It is because I was asking myself the same question when I was driving back home, and I was like, "Who's benefiting from all this monetarily?" Because it's money being printed.
Mhm.
The machine it keep going, printing that money 24/7. Who's getting that money? And I know, the left and the right, they're paddling their side and kind of like promote, we about to do something, but they ain't doing nothing.
Right.
But in the back, in the behind curtains, who's benefiting from it?
Well, you're seeing two things. You're seeing the Democrats want voters, and they're signing them up to vote, and they're going to vote illegally. Okay, that's one way. The other way is the cheap labor. So that it's all about for the Republicans. So it's all about cheap labor for Chamber of Commerce and power and wealth for the Democrats. Who's making the money while it's happening? Well, the biggest earners are the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations,
Hmm.
all on the cloak of religion. Jewish Family Services, Lutheran Family Services, Catholic Charities, United Way, everyone that has some kind of tie to a religion, they're making billions with a B, every month, not like 5 years or 10 years, every single month. And they are the child sex traffickers as well. All of these organizations are making money as they not only bring in hordes of humanity, but also sexually trafficking over 500,000 children. This is happening right in your country, right in your state. You said you're down in Houston. Houston is probably one of the largest transportation hubs of illegal aliens, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, and narcotics trafficking. Houston, Texas. Because to be honest with you, Julio, your state is the epicenter of the invasion. You also have a state that is your governor is a coward and an impotent fool. He lies to you people. He acts as if we look. I see the Lone Star State flag. I was just in Houston 2 days ago. I see the Don't Tread on Me, Lone Star this, Lone Star that. You guys have over 150 child detention facilities in your state, 150 that I know of. Your state is trafficking children. Guatemala, the Guatemalan Secretary of State, and I believe their Attorney General has already tried to sue Texas because they're finding out, hey, we're losing our children. Guatemalan children are being trafficked, sexually trafficked in your state of Texas. You got to stop this. It's hard. You Texans are very proud, but I'm telling you, you are a big part of the problem. Your state.
Now that we're talking about child trafficking and children, missing children, how many missing children from crossing the border unaccompanied are missing roughly? Because I heard some numbers. I heard over the 100,000 probably are missing, probably more. I have no idea because they're not talking about it. I mean, we've seen
No.
videos of kids, little children just walking across the border by themselves or with somebody that is not their family member, and it's concerning because it it is it is dangerous. I mean, trafficking kids, And I was watching a podcast the other day from, I think, the Sean Ryan show. He
Hmm.
was interviewing the Pinal sheriff, and he was saying,
Sheriff Lamb.
Sheriff Lamb, yeah, and great interview, by the way. And they were talking about 100,000 roughly missing children crossing the border.
No, that's grotesquely wrong. Okay.
Hmm.
So under Joe Biden, he will have arrested and released over 500,000 to 550,000 illegal alien children. We call them UACs, unaccompanied alien children. I know that the number is closer to 800,000, but let's just use their data. 500, 550,000.
Wow.
Under congressional testimony, the head of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, and Miss Marcos, who's over Office of Refugee Resettlement, they're in charge, the federally charged to care for and find and release the children. Under oath in 2023, they admitted they can't find 85,000. They admitted. I knew right then that's a lie. I've done my own research. I've already interviewed the people that are inside those facilities that escort and transport these children across state lines. And I'm being told minimum loss is 450,000. Minimum. 450,000 children are lost. They don't know where they are. I'm talking to guys, I'm talking to one guy in particular that worked inside of these NGOs for 8 years and was one of the escorts that was flying people all over, all the kids all over. The horror stories that he told me, horror stories. Let me give you an example. I asked him, I said, this is my belief. I believe the United States government is the largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. Do you agree with that? This is a man that's been in there 8 years. And he says to me, yes, that's true. I said, okay, give me one story, just one that confirms what I believe is true, what I know is true. And he goes, okay, let me give you one. He worked in all the child trafficking in Carrizo Springs, uh, Pecos, all of those child detention centers. He said every now and then they would get a call and they would get all the escorts together and they would take 200 to 300 children in the middle of the night, babies to 17-year-old, in the middle of the night, drive them to El Paso, hours away. Why would you drive them all the way back to the border? Well, because there's a private airstrip in El Paso. And on that airstrip would be three Lear jets, private Lear jets, and they would load up all three of those with children. And the rule was the pilots and the flight attendants could not speak to the children, and the children could not speak to the pilots or the flight attendants. So they flew in silence. They flew across America and they landed on other tarmacs that were private, out of the reach of the media and anyone knowing. And on those tarmacs were buses and rental cars. And they would load the kids up in rental cars. And as Carlos would tell me, he would then drive his children to upper scale neighborhoods. And I would give white children to black mom. I would give white children to a black mom. I would give Asian kids to Hispanic people. He said, everyone I transferred and gave, they weren't related at all. I gave them. And I said, well, who were they? He goes, it was all like a financial transaction. I know in the depths of my soul, I was giving kids away to pedophiles. Why would you fly kids in the middle of the night on private jets where nobody could speak? Why? This happens all the time. That's just one story of hundreds that he told me. Listen, your government is peddling in child sex trafficking. Our government, the United States of America. You don't have to like it. It's true. It's just factually true. I've talked to anti-child sex trafficking organizations, and they all tell me, JJ, sadly, bro, you are 100% correct, but you are missing two elements. Okay. I don't know if I really want to know what the other two elements are, but hit me with it. They said, you need to talk about the organ harvesting of these children. And you also need to talk about child sacrifice, where they kill the children for their insane rituals they have. This is what's happening in your country, America. You are the number one consumer of child pornography in the world. America is also the number one sex traffic and sex with kids in the world. In the world. And now you're telling me, or you're going to argue with me, that we're not sex trafficking kids? You can't connect the dots. You can't look at Epstein and P. Diddy and then our federal government, our leaders, and the pedophilia that runs across every elite part of our society. And you can't think that our government would participate in this? It's happening. It's already been
It
documented.
is crazy.
We all know it's
It
happening.
is crazy. It
But we
is.
as a people have allowed
Oh,
it because
yeah.
it's ugly,
Oh,
it's dirty, and it's dirty and ugly because it's evil. But we allow it to happen.
it is. You're absolutely right about the transporting kids of illegal immigrants. It came out. I think somebody recorded them in the private tarmac.
Hmm.
And they recorded and they were not allowed to talk about it. And when not, and for me, it was like, why our government is transporting people at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning
Hmm.
to different states to God, to whom? That's my first question. To whom? Who gonna receive him in the other end? And also, um, Martha's Martha's vineyard. Remember
Hmm.
when
DeSantis.
Governor DeSantis dropped him off? They got rid of them in 24 hours.
Yes.
They got him out of there, and now you're right about Chicago going basically bankrupt.
Hmm.
Chicago, California. I just saw the other day and today, stores are leaving.
Hmm.
They closing down stores. They leaving. They cannot stand it, and then moving. They're moving over here to the Woodlands in Houston.
Hmm.
They're about to open a bio biotechnical company here in the Woodlands in the next few years. They already made the announcement, and and those people will come with it. The people from California,
Hmm.
and my fear is they're gonna turn this state blue.
Hmm.
They will, and I mean it's already blue down in downtown.
Yeah.
Where I live over here in Montgomery County, which is like 98% uh, conservative. We that's a talking on Facebook on people. They don't want people from out of state. They explicitly say
Well,
it.
well, a lot of the illegal aliens that are crossing in Texas are staying in Texas. That's already been documented. So you are going to have, well, let's talk about how they're going to steal the election. Okay. So let's say that you come into Texas and you have your illegal alien, you're coming to a hotel, right? They just buy out a hotel, the NGOs, and we pay for it and we feed them and clothe them. So they'll sign them up for ballots and they'll put the address to the hotel. Well, those people aren't staying in there. They're moving them out and they get another 500, another 500, another 500. So at the end of the day, they'll have 20,000 ballots shipped to the Comfort Inn. And then they'll just sit there and fill in the dots and then mail them in. That's how it's going to happen. And they say, well, you can't register and vote. Well, I know they can't register to vote, but they are registering to vote. Okay. I understand that there's rules and laws. They don't care. Why would you care if you're Catholic Charities? Why would you care? Why would you want to stop this? The Catholics, I'm Catholic. The Catholic Church is making tens of billions of dollars, tens of billions, maybe 100 billion by the time this is done, bringing in
Hmm.
refugees. Refugees. They're not refugees. Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Service, Lutheran Family Services, making billions of dollars for their religions. And they are the main culprit of this invasion, and they are also the main culprit of the child sex trafficking. It's indisputable. It's undeniable. They are under the color and the blanket of God. And you're going to tell me, Julio, that God is not going to rain down judgment on our nation as we sexually destroy hundreds of thousands of his children? You think God's going to be okay with that? I don't. I don't. And to
Which
think
ama-
that our nation, yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Which
No.
amazed me is our population is so small comparing to China, comparing to India, compared to other country which is smaller. India is smaller than the U.S. and we have even 350 million people here,
Mm-hmm.
and we are the number one consumer of
Child
these
pornography.
child pornography and other. I mean, it is ridiculous how small we are in population, but how perverse is this country. And you're absolutely right. I mean, this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think we are in the brink of civil war in the next few years, and I believe if this country keep bringing immigrants here, it will not be great for this country. They will deplete our resources, and I think you mentioned that in your book. Once those people deplete our resources and got nothing else to basically feed on, or the money runs out, they're gonna start stealing from our people,
Mhm.
and and there will be millions of the millions stealing from our people, killing and pillaging like they did in Venezuela, like they did in Mexico and other countries. It would be chaotic in the next few years if we don't do nothing now. Hopefully Trump wins, in my best opinion. Hopefully Trump wins, but by the way you explain it, but they probably steal the election in that way, it kind of put the fear in my heart that no matter what we do, they probably steal it anyway.
Yeah. And if Trump wins and he starts deporting people, I'm going to tell you for at least 18 months to 2 years, it's going to be bloody. It's going to be a bloody, violent mess. I'm going to tell you
Yeah. Tell,
because
tell me
we have.
tell me your take on it, because I mean I was thinking about it. I cannot formulate my question, but what is your take on it? Like, if Trump take office in 2025, what is going to happen in the next 18 to 24 months, in the first 18 to 24 months?
I think he will. He's a man of his word. I believe that he will create, as he said, the world's largest deportation force. He will begin to round up and remove millions and millions and millions of people. A lot of them will go on their own because they will feel unwelcomed, and he will put in place where sanctuary cities cannot help anymore, that their money dries up. And what I believe will happen is you will have a segment of probably a very large segment of the illegal alien population leave, but you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of terrorists, criminals, and Chinese PLA soldiers that
Hmm.
have been directed to come to America. They're not going to leave. They're going to have to be rooted out. So therefore, that's where you're going to have blood in the street. You're also going to have fights, a war between the law enforcement and the Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the left. It's going to happen. That may be the Civil War. I don't know what a Civil War will look like, right? I don't know. But when you start putting all of these factions together, and then you have to at least intellectually go, what is the outcome if this happens? Well, every outcome that I look at, it looks bad, meaning our government has destroyed America to the point economically, socially, morally, and now with demographics has destroyed us. So the only way to come out of that hole, the only way is going to be violent, dirty, and messy. And there's no way around it because we have allowed ourselves to be thrown down in this well of cesspool because we remained silent for over decades as the left changed our whole complete culture. And now, when Trump comes in, and I don't believe Trump can do it himself, Trump is a shield. That's all he is. He's a shield from the evil. We have to be the guys that are working right behind him and taking care of business. Look, there's tens of millions of military age men that are hard. They're hard. And we have a nation of men, the vast majority, that think they can have babies, that don't even know what sex they are, that are so morally bankrupt. How do you think America fights this war from within? And the only hope that we have, I'm going to be just as blunt as I can. The only hope is to look back in history and understand a very, very, very small percentage of the population, anywhere from 3 to 10%, are the only people that fight, the only people that do anything to secure victory. So I know that there are millions of men like me and you in America that are ready to go to war. The only thing that we need is a charismatic leader that come up and say, join me. I'm going to lead you. We're going to take care. We're going to take America back. We're going to create it because our founding fathers told us one day there's going to be a tyrannical government inside the United States of America. And it is your moral responsibility to take that government down. and reinstate a true and honest and God-fearing government. And we're not doing that.
Okay, mommy.
Hey, how you doing, sweetheart?
But the TV isn't working.
Okay, mommy, I'll fix it later.
No.
Go ahead. Bye-bye. Love you. You
Well,
chicken.
if there's anything, well,
but
I think that's perfect, Julio. I think that's perfect timing. Why do you want America to stay the way it is and be successful? It's because your daughter. Do you want your daughter fighting for America, or do you want to fight for America? I have a 12-year-old son. I don't want him to fight. I need to fight for America. If we pass this on, who do we pass it on to? You pass it on to your beautiful daughter that just came in. I pass it on to my beautiful son. Why would that be my legacy, to pass on a rotten to the core country to my son? Why would any generation want to do that? Are you telling me our generation is better than the last? I would argue no. Is it our generation better than 2 generations ago? Absolutely not. Our generation, me and you, we have allowed our nation to deteriorate to the point that we are being told there needs to be tampons in men's bathrooms, that men can have babies, that you could take your genitals and remove them and you could become the other sex. That's the world we're in now. And then you get to illegal immigration and you act as if that's a one-off. This is all tied to each other. They have been systematically destroying every segment of our society, every segment of it. And we've allowed it. And I know you, if you've been in the military, like you said, I know that you don't want to pass it on to your daughter. I know you don't. I know your audience doesn't want their children to have to deal with this mess that we created. There has to be some acknowledgement of what we have done to our own nation. And then there has to be some moral feeling and drive to go and correct what we have destroyed. It has to be. If not, then our children are going to deal with it. And they are going to look at us with disdain and anger that how did you allow this to happen? How did you allow our country to become this? You are the problem, Dad and Mom.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And my follow-up question for you on the terrorists that come from China, Haiti, Afghanistan, why our country is not closing our borders knowing that we captured them, and they voluntarily basically they just like walk in and say, hey, I'm hungry, and we feed them, we give them money, and we give them an airplane ticket to go wherever they want so they can assemble and do whatever they want to do. Why is that? I mean, I cannot fathom why our government is allowing this knowingly and willfully to destroy this country.
Okay. Well, you answered your own question, didn't you? If I told you at the end of 4 years, I'm doing a documentary. Okay. It's going to be out in September. It's called Thisistreson.com. It's going to talk about everything we're talking about. If I told you in 4 years, back in 2021, that at the end of Joe Biden's term, he's going to allow in 210,000 Chinese nationals, where military analysts have already determined that at least 120,000 are PLA soldiers. At the same time, the federal government's going to allow in 250,000 special interest aliens. They're called terrorists. They're going to allow in 1 million Venezuelans and 1 million Haitians, just to start. Just to start. I'm not even getting into all the other nationalities and crimes. Just that. If I told you that 4 years ago, Julio, and I asked you, would you call that government treasonous or would you call that government patriotic? What would you say? You would say that's traitors that are running our country. So when you look back, it's hard when you're in the present to make an allegation because you want to believe that people are at some way level good, especially people in government. They're going to be patriotic. But when you look back and you say to yourself, what if I was back there and I told myself that this was going to happen? I would be irate. I would say, no way, this can't be. So we need to look back and then put ourselves in that position in time and look forward and say, yes, everything that we thought would never happen has happened. What type of government would do that? I'm going to give you 3 quotes to answer your question by 3 different men. We are going to fundamentally transform the United States of America. That's one. The second one, we are going to have unrelenting waves of immigration into America to change our demographics and make the Anglo-Saxon man or people the minority in their own country. 3, we need to allow in as many legal aliens as we can to take the jobs and then legalize every legal alien in our country. That was from Barack Obama, Vice President Biden, and Chuck Schumer. I don't have to create quotes or scenarios. All I have to do is regurgitate the vial that comes out of those men's mouth to explain to you that this is intentional, it's strategic, and it's treasonous, what they've done. And I come back to the same question I'm going to ask you, as I've already asked you before, and I go on about 15 to 20 podcasts a week. And I'm telling you, I'm going to ask you the same question. Everything that I just told you, everything is documented as factual truth. You don't like my conclusion, then you tell me what the hell's going on in America. And it's always silence, because there is no other explanation except our federal government is trying to destroy America from within. And it's happening, and they're being successful.
It is basically heartbreaking knowing that our government is not doing anything. If we do anything, if we man our borders, let's say civilians take up arms and arm our borders and man it, they will arrest us. I believe if we go to the border, let's say myself, and I grab my stuff and I go there and be on guard overnight, they're gonna remove me.
They are. They're going to arrest you. And that brings a very great question. I had this discussion just yesterday. Okay. And the only way this changes, I really believe this. The only way, it can't be one man. It can't be Julio's down there or JJ goes down there. It has to be 100,000, has to be 1 million of us by a leader that says to you, Julio, if you join us, Julio, if the military or police come to get you, there's going to be 10,000 of us right behind you. They're not taking you anywhere, buddy. Nowhere. That's the only way this happens. And so that the crazy left and the rhinos understand what I'm saying. At least 50% minimum, and you will attest to this, as I will in law enforcement. There's only about 50% of us, maybe even less, that actually do the job of the military. The rest are kidding. They're just getting a paycheck. But 50% of us are hardcore patriotic Americans. We will not turn on each other. We will not turn on our brothers and sisters, but we'll turn on our government. And then the other ones will just follow along. I'm telling you, it doesn't need to be 100, 200, 300 million of us against the government. It only has to be a very small percentage of us that are dedicated to each other and dedicated to the sovereignty of the United States of America. That's it. Do I want this to happen? No. I'm just looking at it as a critically thinking, intelligent man, and I'm saying that this is one of the outcomes that could happen. If our government continues to be tyrannical and does not change its ways, which I do not believe it will, what is our recourse? We only have 2 recourses. You have one is to shut up and take it and be oppressed and be ruled by a tyrannical government, or you do what our founding fathers did and you take back your government. You take back what is ours, created and divine by God. It is ours, not the government, not by man. It is our freedom. I have the freedom to protect myself with the Second Amendment. I have the freedom to speak freely and not be censored or put in jail for it. I have the ability to protest against your government. That is my right. You don't get to throw me in jail like a January 6th, sir. You don't. So you have 2 choices, America. You either keep going down this road and you will be oppressed, or you can be on the other side and you demand your government either corrects itself or get out. And one of those ways to get out is you may have to remove them. Are we there yet? I don't think so, but I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there really fast.
Right, we get in there. I seen it, and they just keep promoting change, and you know what happened in 2020 with the mandates and stuff like that.
Hmm.
A small percentage, like you mentioned, a small percentage resist
Hmm.
and draw the line and say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. Plus, and then the rest of the herd just follow them.
Yep.
Now, my next question is, do you think these politicians will see justice raining down on them when this is all over? If Trump comes to the presidency, do you think he would put these people in jail for treason?
I don't think he has any other choice but to do that. And the reason why I say that is the left is not going to stop attacking him.
Hmm.
So he tried this, right? He tried this. He knew that Hillary Clinton should be in jail, but he did. He thought, I'm not going to put her in jail or get Comey in jail. I'm just going to move them out and then they'll just go away. Well, they didn't go away. So now they have boxed this man into the corner. He has no other choice but to come out swinging. If he doesn't, he's like a lion in the safari, and you have hyenas around him. 50 hyenas. He either is going to allow the hyenas to eat him or he's going to tear them to shreds. There is no middle ground. There's no, I'm going to kill two or three hyenas and then the other ones are going to just leave me alone. No, he's going to have to destroy all of them. And that's what I believe. That's why the left is so terrified, is they know that they have left this man no option. There is no option he has. He has to come out strong and fight. And his his supporters, men like me, I want justice. I demand it. I
Hmm.
demand justice. I don't want Hillary Clinton to walk another day free. I don't want Joe Biden and his family who took millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't want them to walk free. I don't want James Comey that's set up. I don't want the 51 intel agency heads that lied and said that Hunter laptop was Russia collusion when they knew
Hmm.
it wasn't. I want people. I want people to go to jail that deserve to go to jail. I want them to be given the God-given constitutional right of a trial, and when they're found guilty, if they're found guilty, I want the proper justice. And if that's treason, then you know, as a military man, treason
Hmm.
is by death. And I want that. I demand it as American citizen. And I'm not going to bend a knee to anyone ever, especially not these evil, disgusting politicians. And we have got to, as men in this country, we have got to talk like this. And because when you look at the federal government, it's scary because they're so big. But when you start looking at the individual people, they are unimpressive. They are weak morally, spiritually, physically. They are no one to be afraid of. If anything, they should fear us. They should fear me. And that's what we got to get to. We got to get back to America, where American men were strong, respected. We're not respected anymore. We have been neutered. We've been emasculated to be nothing. We've allowed women and insane people tell us masculinity is a crime. It's the worst thing in the world. No, the reason why America is in the depths of cesspool, immoral cesspool, is because you have no masculine men. Masculinity is kindness, compassion, empathy, but it also is strength, the willingness to do violence on another person that dares to hurt you, your property, and God forbid your children and your wife. But we don't have that anymore. We have none of that. Where I'm gonna ask you a question that a German woman asked almost 5 years ago, and it's stuck in my brain, and I can't get it out because it was so powerful. Back then, Angela Merkel, the chancellor of Germany, was bringing in all of these millions of illegal alien military age men into Germany, and there was a rape epidemic. And this young woman, 25 years old, looks into the camera and she said the most important, direct, but simple question. She said, where are all the German men? And she was right. And I'm going to say to you, Julio, in the next few months to a year, you're going to have American women that are tired of being raped and seeing their children murdered are going to say the same thing. Where are all the American men? And that's an indictment on all of us.
That is powerful. It is. It just I cannot believe that we are in this stage of like basically borderline losing our country and borderline civil war. Like when
Mhm.
I joined the military back in 1999, this thought was like far distance. Was a far distance thinking about, man, we never gonna have a war in the U.S. soil, never. Now fast forward 20, 25 years, and we are now here,
Mhm.
basically getting ready to fight for our country. And I believe the Chinese people, the PLF that are here, plus the Afghanis, the Haitians, whatever they come from, they're not here for eating donuts or
Mm-mm.
coffee.
Nope.
They're here to claim something that is not theirs, and we have to fight for that. That's my
Yes.
belief.
No,
They
you're
they
absolutely
think
right.
they thinking this is a payback, and
Mhm.
and the form of payback, have you seen it in Middle East and whatnot, is car bombings,
Mhm.
executions, kidnappings, all the stuff. Imagine if it happens here in the United States simultaneously in every big city. It would be
Mhm.
chaotic.
It would shut
And
America down, wouldn't it?
it will. I mean, if you shut down one of the power grids,
It's over.
it's over. I mean, you will have chaos and no communications, and they will be running rampant.
I
That's
had
if
a I Yep, I interviewed a military intelligence guy and the things he told me, but one thing he told me that was shocking. He said, "Listen, the PLA soldiers are not going to come in here and get into war the way we think. They're going to take down our grids. They're going to take down militarily like strategic and surgical destruction." He says, "So, let's take New York City or Chicago.
hmm
We take down that power grid within 72 hours, people will be killing each other and dying in the streets in New York and and Chicago and the big cities because they will have no water. In 3 days, they will run out of water. All their food will rot. And then it's going to be a self preservation and they're going to kill each other. They're all going to do it. We've already had attacks on our infrastructure by the Chinese in the last probably 7, 8 months, at least two of them that we know about that they've admitted to, the government's admitted to. You have over 100,000 PLA soldiers in America. We look. You told me you've been in the military. I want you to think about this. Think, just for a second. Imagine you are going into Afghanistan, and the Afghanistan army and the government picks you up, feeds you, clothes you, medicates you, flies you wherever you want to be in Afghanistan, and then houses you for free, feeds you for free. That is what we are doing to our enemies. The enemies have sent their military in, and we're housing them. We're feeding them. We're clothing them. We are funding our own demise. Listen, if this ever happens, and it will, historians are going to look back 100 years from now and they are going to write volumes of how stupid America was. How did they allow this to happen? How did you allow some of the dumbest people in your population to be your political leaders? How did you allow that to happen? And then how did you allow those dumb morons that hate you, that hate your country, run your country, and then kill you from the inside out? There will be historians that will write volumes about this because it's the only thing that can happen. That's the only outcome of this, unless we change it. And when we change it, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be clean. You're not going to vote our way out of it, Julio. You're not going to. Do you trust? Let me ask you, maybe a better question is, in the fields of education, medicine, law enforcement, intel agencies, media, entertainment, sports, and the government. I just named 8 things. Do you trust any of those organizations?
I
Any of them?
truly don't. No.
You truly don't. So, how does a country sustain itself and continue to be successful when the vast majority of all Americans don't trust the segments of our society that run our life? I think that's a fair question to ask.
Yeah. It is incredible how this is coming to fruition. I mean, you mentioned it. We house them. They're coming over here for free. They stay here for free. basically they staging. This is factual documents that people can find. Those soldiers from China, they buying land in
Mm-hmm.
critical military installations
Mm-hmm.
next to it. Why?
Yep.
Why we allow them to do that? First off,
Do you think China? You think Chairman Xi would allow us to buy land next to their military installments in China? No. Okay.
no.
See, that answers, that tells you everything we need to know. That you
Mhm.
laugh out loud when I ask you such an absurd question. Well, why is it absurd to say, wait a minute, you just sold land to China that's next to our military installations? Why would you do that? Well, you don't have an answer, do you? Well, then you're a traitor to our country. And we have to get in this this world of reality where we speak this way, Julio, that we're not afraid to offend somebody. Like maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't care if I offend you. I believe that I am. I think that I am. I hope I am. I believe that I'm a kind and civil man. I don't want any problems. I don't want. However, I'm not going to be civil and I'm not going to be kind when you're trying to destroy my life, when you're allowing people to come in the country where I have to watch the safety of my wife and my son. God forbid anything happen to them at the hands of an illegal alien, because a lot of people that are not illegal aliens are going to pay a steep price for what's happened to my family.
Yeah.
But men have to take back this country because men allowed our country to be destroyed. We did. Our wives and our children, they did not allow this. God did not build them to go to war and fight. They did not. I'm not saying that women can't be right beside us taking our country back. Absolutely, we need that. But what I'm saying to you is the people that are the most responsible, that have the most culpability in the destruction of our country, are the American man. Absolutely, the American man. So, if the American man is the number one problem, then the American man needs to be the number one person that makes the solution happen. And that is that's the only way we're going to get our America back. The only way. And I'm not talking about anything else but a constitutional, fair, law and order, and freedom country. That's it. That's
It's
what we
simple.
need. Simple.
It's so simple. Sometimes we are talking to my wife. We always talking, and she say like the most simple questions the left cannot answer.
Nope. What's a woman?
What is 2 plus 2? They
Oh,
will
it's
say
five.
it's 8 or 5 or whatever. And that's the next question for you. Talking about your documentary, they're coming in September. I seen the trailer going around. It is fascinating. Just give me a glimpse of what is coming on that documentary.
So the documentary comes out in September. Okay. You can go to thisistreson.com for $9.99. Me and my partner Ryan Matta made a decision. We're not going to charge $20, $30 just for a cup of coffee. $9.99. You're going to get not a regular, I'm tired, I'm bored of looking at this documentary. When you get done, I've already seen a little bit of it. When you get done in 90 minutes, you are going to feel like you forgot to exhale. That's what it's going to feel like. For $14.99, my partner Ryan said, "This is what we're going to do. I'm going to charge We're going to charge $14.99, but for that, we're going to allow people access to inside the filming of this documentary from the day we start. So right now, when you go to This Is Treason, you can get $14.99 and begin to get 10, 15 hours of behind the scenes and interviews, professionally edited, and we'll have probably 50 hours of that when the documentary finally comes out. So I think that's a great deal. Let me tell you what the documentary looks like. Everybody looks at the border, right? We have the camera. It's looking at the border, millions of people, trash everywhere, people being hurt. Nobody has taken the camera and turned it north and said, I want to show you the manifestation of an open border, the manifestation of what treason looks like. I'm going to take you to New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, LA, Oakland, San Francisco, small towns in America, Colorado. I'm going to show you so you have it in your face. You cannot unsee it. This is what has happened when you allow tens of millions of illegal aliens into your country. And that is what in my documentary, I'm going on a journey to prove that our federal government has created treason against America.
And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that you taking the time. I know it's not easy, even doing podcasts. It's not easy, but
No.
now doing documentary, it is daunting. And I've seen the shorts, and I can't wait. When is that exactly it's coming? I know you mentioned September.
And we were going to do it October 10th. And
Okay.
because we'd done a lot of filming, we have another month of filming to do.
Mm.
But people really pressed us like, dude, you've got to get it out before the election, before
Oh
early
yeah.
voting, all that. So we're doing a rush. It's not going to compromise anything, but we were able to get a lot of filming done. Ryan Matta and his editing team are going to have like 3 weeks to create it. And probably within the first week of September, we'll have the date more narrowed down in August. And we're going to do all kinds of premieres and stuff like that. But you can get it online and pre-order it now. I'm very proud that we are selling a lot. Like, I can't even believe it. And I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that this could be something that goes viral and that millions upon millions of people will view it. And that's my hope. My hope is just to speak the truth and to show exactly what I know is to be the truth. And I want to visually show it to you. I want to take you to the drug dens in Philadelphia and show you that 95% of all the hard narcotics come from Mexico. That is over 2,000 miles away in Philadelphia. You are not
Mm.
exempt from the harsh reality of open borders. You're not. Your children are in danger. Your wife is in danger, and your country is in peril. And I'm going to prove it to you through a documentary, and I'm excited to.
I'm glad you're doing. If you have time, I know you're busy, man. You're doing a lot of stuff. If you have time, tell me about that. You mentioned fentanyl,
Okay.
the drug that come in through the borders, and they're driving through I-45, I-35. Oh, this Houston is a big hub of
Mm-hmm.
drug trafficking. Tell me more about it, because I know about Houston because I'm locally here. But what about California,
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, all the other
Okay.
bordering states?
So fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, and the precursors to make it come from China. So China is funneling all of the precursors for fentanyl. They're either making it in China or they're making it in Mexico. Do you know that there's over 2,000 Chinese scientists in the northern states of Mexico? Why are they there? Well, they're bringing the pill presses over and they're pressing pills of fentanyl.
Hmm.
Fentanyl, you take a grain of salt, like a little salt like you put on a steak. That little grain of fentanyl will kill you. Will kill you. What's happened is in 2023, DEA and all the local, state, and local agencies have seized billions of fentanyl pills, enough to kill America multiple times over. Every American could die multiple times, resurrect them and kill them again. That's how many fentanyl pills have been seized. Now, when you've been in law enforcement, you know everything that you arrest and seize, at least 5 to 10 times that has gotten by you. So when I tell you that there are trillions of fentanyl pills, cocaine, and heroin laced with fentanyl, you have no idea how bad this is. Let me give you an example. Under Donald Trump said this is an epidemic, it is an embarrassment, and we have got to stop it. The overdose deaths in America has reached epidemic proportions. 50,000 people have died in his last year in office from overdose. Joe Biden has now almost tripled that. And it's a direct correlation from open borders to overdose deaths. I was in Philadelphia filming, and I was in Kensington. It's about a square mile of in a land of zombies. I don't know how, if I have time to articulate to you how insane it felt. Like I was on a movie set, a horror set. There were thousands of zombies, thousands. People in states of absolute stuck, like their bodies were stuck in a position. They couldn't get out. I saw flesh-eating diseases all over people's bodies on their extremities because they're faced with their drugs are trank and fentanyl, and the blood pools at your extremities. The veins won't allow it to go back up. So if you can imagine a normal sized person with almost an elephantitis of their legs and feet, their skin rips open, and then it starts eating itself, and they have to amputate it.
Hmm.
I was in hell. That there has to be on the rings of hell. That is what hell must look like. You had people shooting each other in the neck with drugs because they can't see the veins, so they're shooting each other in the necks. People running out of houses all day and all night. Thousands of zombies. And what does our government do? Our government sends $68 billion to Ukraine, over $200 billion to Ukraine. They spent over $4 trillion in the Middle East. And our brothers and sisters live like animals? Did they make a decision to put that needle in their arm? Yes, they did. But do we have an obligation, some form of moral, religious, and spiritual obligation to at least help our brothers and sisters? No. Our obligation is to send billions and trillions to people that hate us in the world and to ignore our own families. It's you telling me that I couldn't clean up Kensington and get every one of those people, even if they want to or not, in some kind of rehab, and then lock them up if they don't want to stay in that. If I could have used one of those trillions of dollars that we spent on illegal aliens. So when you talk about fentanyl and you talk about narcotics, I'm telling you, there is no community that is safe from this evil disease of narcotics. And the reason why they're here is because we have open borders. The cartels are not going to stop people. They're making $1 trillion with a T on narcotics. They're making hundreds of billions with a B of human smuggling. They're making tens of billions a year having children be raped and sodomized by U.S. citizens, all because our federal government refuses to secure our borders and remain sovereign as a nation. And then you have to ask yourself why. And then we come back full circle because they hate our nation and they say it out loud. So you have to listen to them. It's like being married and your wife tells you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I'm sleeping with 5 other men. I hate you. And you keep saying, oh, this is a great marriage. I'm so glad we're married. But I hate you. I hate you. I'm sleeping with other people. That's how stupid we are as Americans. Our government's saying, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I'm giving all of your money, all of your time, talent, and treasure. I'm giving to foreigners. I'm giving it to other people because I hate you so much. And Americans keep saying, but I love you. I know you love me. No, they don't. And that's what I want your audience to take away from today. I want them to understand. And if you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't even like me or my voice, that's fine. Fact check everything I said today. Everything. Go through with a fine-tooth comb, and you're going to be shocked to find out that everything I've told you is true. It's true.
Absolutely. JJ, thank you so much. I appreciate taking your time to come over here, and I wish we meet up one more day. One, if you're in Houston, I'll give you my number. just,
Yeah, I
yeah.
would
Let
love
me
that.
know. Let me know, and we link up somewhere in Houston. But I really
That'll be
appreciate it.
great.
I'm excited for the documentary coming out, and for the audience. If you have not yet buying his book, Invaded, go ahead, you find it on Amazon. You can get it in paper copy or audiobooks for those that like to listen like me. I'm hard to read, so I just audiobook everything. So audiobook is a good read. It's a good way to listen on your way home to commute or whatnot. It's a great book. Also, can you repeat again your website for the people can
Yeah.
get the documentary early
Yes,
release?
it's at thisistreson.com. Thisistreson.com. It's very
Yeah,
simple, very clean website, which I like. And you can just click and order, and when you get on $14.99, you have right now 10, I think it's 10 to 15 hours of videos from the border and from Philadelphia and New York and see what we're doing behind the scenes. And you can join the journey that we're on before this comes out in September. So thank you, Julio. I appreciate you giving me almost an hour and 20 minutes to be able to articulate my views and what I'm passionate about and what I believe. So thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And for the audience here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, you can follow JJ Carroll at and YouTube. You have a TikTok too, or you have Instagram?
Uh, nope. I just have, well, I do, but I don't use it. You can just find me at JJ Carrell 14 or at Substack. I write on Substack at jjcarrell.substack.
Are you in Rumble
Appreciate
too,
it.
or not?
I am. I just I have a podcast called Unrestricted Invasion, and it's going to go on LFA TV on Monday. We start on Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm excited about the new opportunity that we're having on Rumble, and it's growing. The message is getting out there, and as you know, as a successful podcaster yourself, you know it takes time and a lot of lonely nights, but it's worth it, right? It's worth it.
It is worth it. Yeah, I'm about to get on Rumble too. My wife been harping me about like get my podcast on Rumble, but I will get it on Rumble. I have
Yeah.
to upload everything up there. But JJ, thank you. God bless you. I appreciate your time, and I will see you on the next one.
Yes. Thank you very much, man. Bye.
Bye bye.